Lee Clark? Back so soon? It's only been a week. But yeah, man, what can I say? I feel like this is one of those. You remember how I said last week that Bahrain is between a bunch of different people? There are a lot of justifiable answers. This week is a bit different. I feel as though every single person I've seen give their opinion on this has said it's Lee Clark. So it appears as though Lee Clark is once again the intern MVP of the race. Come on down, come collect your prize, Charles. Well done. It's easy to see why. Once again, he continues to, I don't want to say outperform or overdrive the Ferrari, but he's putting that car in places that the race pace can't manage. And despite that, I think this was one of them weekends where the Ferrari was third fastest. It was definitely faster than the Merc, in my opinion. And if it wasn't, it only makes Leclerc's drive that much more impressive. He managed to do a very long medium stint. And the most interesting part of his medium stint is I remember when everyone in front of him pit and he had cycled into the lead and Norris was behind him on the hards. I was like, all right, Lee Clark's mediums are going to fall off and Norris is going to catch him. But that didn't necessarily happen. I mean, Leclerc on those old mediums was still churning out banger laps. He was still churning out banger laps. And as a result, he went onto the hards later than everyone around him, which made him quicker than all the people that were on his strategy. And when Lando Norris pit for the mediums to try and chase him down, he didn't get to him in time. He was close, but he didn't get to him in time. So yeah, man, Lee Clark, he did it. He put a Ferrari on a Grand Prix podium for the first time in 2025. And I think I've said it before, but Ferrari have not looked like a team that is gonna contend for a championship at all, or even race wins anytime soon. Maybe later in the year when the development war, furthers and more innovations, more upgrades are brought to these vehicles. Maybe some teams are gonna stop upgrading their car. They're gonna prioritize next year and the new regs. But as of right now, Ferrari have not shown race winning speed over a Grand Prix. And I have to specify over a Grand Prix because Lewis Hamilton did win the sprint in China. But even then, I wouldn't even put that much down to race pace as I would just winning the pole, which I feel like is very important in this era of Formula One, and staying ahead of the drivers that are chasing you down and making sure they burn up their tires behind you. And when they burn up their tires, you can just scamper off into the distance because you got the clean air. And that's pretty much how Hamilton was able to win that sprint. But outside of that sprint, Lee Clark has seemingly had the better. Well, let me not say the better. Lee Clark has had the upper hand at Ferrari, which is easy to understand. This is another thing I've spoken about before. Hamilton is new to Ferrari and he's taking a while to adjust. He's still on some low-key depression stuff. Not literal depression, but the interviews he's giving as of late aren't really hopeful. But again, it's early days, so I'm not really taking that too seriously. But yeah, Lee Clark had his number this weekend by far. Jeddah's really not that track for Lewis. I know he won here in 2021, but ever since then, man, he has never wowed me at this track since then at all. I guess it's just one of his weaker circuits. But to contrast that, I think Jeddah is one of Leclerc's better circuits. He tends to do quite well around here, and this week was no different. Post-production intern making this mental note. I also forgot to credit Hamilton for good teamwork. That little squabble, that little scrap he was having with Norris was very, very paramount to Lee Clark getting that podium. So even though I think Lee Clark still had a great drive, that defense by Lewis for them 2 laps really, really, really played a role in Leclerc getting that podium. And that's something I forgot to say in my original rant. So I went into the post-production and recorded this to put this part right here. Continue, current intern. As for any honorable mentions, I don't know, Piastri, maybe. Piastri and Max both had very decent weekends. Max's pole was very impressive. Even though he got the toe, still a very impressive pole lap nonetheless. Piastri was stepping up from McLaren where Norris faltered once again. It's another bad weekend for Norris, even though he managed to get P4 at the end. P4 is great, but not when your teammate is winning the Grand Prix, I fear. Both V-Carbs to me had very good weekends. Yeah, Lawson finally out-qualified Hajar, and despite that, Hajar had a great start on his hards, which allowed him to do a great long stint, which allowed him to go on to the mediums at the end and try and have a go at the Williams. But because they were so close to each other and giving each other DRS, there's nothing Hajar could do with his fresher tires, which allowed Lawson to catch up. Lawson got a very BS penalty, in my opinion, which prevented him from getting the 11th place he deserved. But so on and so forth. Alonso, I think, had a very good weekend. I think people are not understanding that this Aston is actually very bad. It's not a good car, at least compared to the competition. This Aston is quite bad, and I know Stroll scored in it already this year, Australia and China, but these performances by Alonso, he is light years ahead of Stroll. The only difference is when he's light years ahead of Stroll, he's not in the points, which is because the Aston just isn't good enough right now. I know a lot of people are having a go at Alonso right now because he hasn't scored any points this year, but they're gonna come. And if they don't come, then this is gonna be one of them Bottas-Zhou type seasons where Zhou beats Bottas in the championship even though Bottas was better, or Kubica beating Russell in the championship even though Kubica was better. It's gonna be one of them seasons if Alonso can't score. But this is Fernando Alonso we're talking about. If he could score in a 2015 McLaren Honda, he should be fine this year. Who else had a good weekend? I'm trying to think. Can't really think. I mean, everyone had a good weekend, to be honest with you. No one really, outside of Norris, no one really underperformed significantly. Stroll was pretty not that good, you know. Duan didn't have the best weekend either. Bortoleto could have been better, but everyone was decent. Yeah, everyone had a decent weekend, but Lee Clark had the most decent weekend, and that is why he's the MVP of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But who will be the MVP when we go to the Miami Grand Prix? We'll have to wait 2 weeks for that. So until then, this is Intern signing out.